Hi guys, so over the last couple of weeks we've been looking at lots of different media forms, and this week I want us to look at magazines. Now, magazines are not something that we see as commonly as we might have done 10 years ago. The rise of digital technology and the development of social media has meant that magazines and print media in general have had to adapt.
Adapt or die.
But it is one of the set products that we look at and is a staple of media studies. And so we're going to look a little bit at magazines. So a magazine is a periodical publication containing a collection of articles that are targeted at entertaining and informing a particular audience. As a print form, magazines share some of their characteristics with newspapers, but there are significant differences between the two media forms. Magazines are usually printed on higher quality paper, published less frequently than newspapers, weekly, monthly, quarterly or biannually, and they're usually organised by theme or topic. The front cover of a magazine is really important because it's the first part of the publication that the reader will see. Therefore, it must do the following. Indicate who the magazine is intended for. It needs to appeal to the attention of the target audience. Indicate the type of magazine it is. Help the magazine stand out from its competitors by conveying a clear sense of brand. So magazines have a number of technical conventions that identify them as magazines and help them appeal to their target audience. So if you have a look at this image, it shows a conventional magazine front cover and illustrates some of the key conventions that usually appear on the front cover of a magazine. So we can see the main image on the magazine, and that's usually connected to the feature article and it appeals to the audience. So that main image is quite important because it's going to tell the reader what kind of magazine and what kind of content you can expect to see in that magazine. So another magazine convention is the masthead. This is usually at the top of the page and is the placement for the name of the magazine. It's instantly recognizable to the audience as a brand image. So GQ magazine, for instance, is known for being a top magazine for men's fashion and culture. Just below the masthead, you'll see two other conventions. One is the tagline. A tagline is a catchy phrase that represents the brand. So for GQ, it's Gentleman's Quarterly. The other thing you'll notice is the date line, and that's the line for the date of the magazine. So everything is supposed to work together to attract the reader for this particular magazine. And something that you will often see are cover lines. These are short, catchy phrases referencing content inside the magazine and helping persuade the reader to buy. So another convention of the magazine front cover is the feature article, and that is the main feature or story, and it's usually in the largest font size and possibly in a different colour to stand out. Can you see how the feature article is on top of the main image? That is what we call anchoring or anchorage, and what's happening is that the positioning of that feature article tells us that it's connected to the main image. It's anchoring the meaning of that image. If we think about the colour palette, that's another convention. Usually they're made up of no more than 3 colours that contrast but complement one another, and each edition may use different colours to reflect a theme for that issue. And so you can see here on this front cover you've got a kind of lime green, white and orange. It seems to be the colour palette for this particular edition. The other convention to consider when you're thinking about the magazine front cover is the composition and layout. The way in which all the elements on the front cover are organised, how the text, images and shapes are positioned on the page. The rule of thirds is used when composing the page, with the central image usually in the middle third of the page. This ensures that it takes up the main part of the page and is the most eye-catching feature. The most important text will be across the top left and the centre, as this is where our eye is drawn to first. Another magazine convention to consider is typography. The size and style of font used indicates its relevance. Different font styles can evoke different meanings. Serif and sans serif, so that basically means with or without the little kind of hands that you get when you're writing. So Times New Roman has serif, but if you use Calibri, that's sans serif, without serif. And these are both commonly used to evoke different meanings. You generally have no more than 3 sizes or styles of typography on a magazine front cover. Another magazine convention is the mode of address and language. This is to do with the way the magazine talks to the audience, and that will depend on the genre of the magazine and who the target audience is. Lexis is usually straightforward, so readers can make quick decisions about whether to buy the magazine. So the kind of language and choice of language you get on the front cover is really going to be a clue for the reader whether they want to buy that magazine or not. Do they connect with what the magazine is talking about and how the magazine talks about it? Another magazine convention are the shot types and angles that are used for that central image. The central image is usually a long or mid shot. The angle may depend on the subject in the image and the message the magazine wants to communicate. So if we think back to what we've been looking at over the last couple of weeks, what do you think the social context might be for this image? What's the cultural context of this particular image? Think about what or who is being represented in this image, because as we know, every piece of media is always going to be communicating some sort of idea, message or value about society or about some issue. And so I want you to look at this magazine and just think about what could this magazine be communicating to its readers.